Hi, I'm Monte, and welcome to the next exciting episode of Coke and Strippers, where you always get the full Monte. And today we're going to go on a trip where I buy this printer, and I buy this game, and I buy this computer so that I can play that game, and I buy this modem to, well, I don't know why. This time on Coke and Strippers, we're going to go back in time. Yeah, we're headed back to the mid-1970s, well, the late 1970s and 80s, and we're going to look at some retro computers. So off we go, on the road again. I can't wait to get... 1977 was a watershed year for the personal computing industry with the release of 3 new home computers. Really, the first, there was the Commodore PET. There was the Apple II, and then there was the TRS-80 Model 1. And we're going to go take a look at the early Tandy Radio Shack computers, beginning with Model 1. This computer shipped with an amazing 4K of RAM and a central processing unit with a clock speed of 1.77 megahertz. Wow, that's a lot of power to have in your bedroom. This is Peter Satinsky of the Trash Talk podcast. Today we see him with his Model 1 TRS-80 with a system expander by Peter Bartlett, which we'll see later, an Exatron stringy floppy, which is a little tape drive for the TRS-80s, the VoxBox, and that understands a limited number of voice commands. He's also showing the TRS-80 speech synthesizer and an electrostatic screen printer and more. He is the author of TRS Wiki. No, I didn't say Wookie, I said Wiki. Tell me about TRS Wiki.
TRS Wiki is a Wikipedia browser for your TRS-80. So it connects using to the internet using the MISE, the Model 1 system expander created by Peter Bartlett, who's exhibiting over here today. All right. Which provides an Ethernet port, basically connects to a router to get out to the internet and provides TCP/IP networking stack for your TRS-80. All right,
so you've got Ethernet and TCP/IP on this TRS-80. That's amazing. So do you have a live internet connection at the moment?
I do. And you get your Wikipedia search listings of searching for TRS-80, just like you would if you were looking in a browser. Right. You can jump to links by number that are on the page, and you can also view images. So if it says IMG1, that's an image link, so I can view an image of the Coco in low res.
You know, that's pretty amazing, particularly from the resolution here. It looks really good. You know what I mean?
You have to stand back.
Right? Yeah, you stand back a little bit. It looks pretty amazing. I remember doing some graphics in this platform, you know, back in the day, and it was a little difficult. But man, this is a really incredible setup. You guys, stringy floppy, VoxBox, voice synthesizer. So
this is a very rare device. Yeah. This is a hardware encryption device for the Model 1.
Hardware encryption for the Model 1 is that period or is that modern?
No, this is period. This is really
I've never heard of such a thing. Do you happen to know what encryption? It's probably DES.
I think they kept it very...
Oh, it was custom homegrown encryption.
In fact, if you try to open this up, it's all epoxy sealed, so you can't even get it.
Right, epoxy potted. Yeah, of course, because they don't want anybody to see it. Anything else in this thing that you particularly like to comment on?
I just have some Xenix displays over there.
Right.
On the big TRS-80 business computers, the 6000 and the Model 16.
All right. Do you want to do a quick overview? All right. Well, we'll let you get set up and get back to it. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I appreciate your podcast.
Sure, you're welcome.
Oh, and how do we find that podcast?
Just go to TRS-80trashtalk.com.
This is George Phillips with his TRS-vid, which plays sound and videos at 60 frames per second on his TRS-80 Model 4P.
Like the original Aha video, kind of a classic. So it gives you a little preview image, and then if you press spacebar, it'll start playing.
How much storage does this whole video require?
It's about a megabyte per minute. So this is, you know, typical music video is about 5 megabytes. It's 160 by 72, and it's got 1-bit audio, but it comes out pretty well.
This is Paul Fiscarelli, and I asked him about his Altair 8800 and its role in developing the TRS-80 Model 1.
So this here is an Altair 8800, Mitt's Altair.
Is this an original or a,
this is actually a clone.
Yeah,
I do
one of the
have
clones.
an original at home.
Fantastic.
That I'm in the process of restoring. I didn't want to bring it with me.
Don't blame you.
Yeah, it's a rare item. So, and then this is an ADM 3A. And the significance of this, it's not TRS-80, but our keynote speaker this morning, Don French, he originally purchased one of these back in 75, 76 time frame, I believe. Don came by last night just to check things out, and he saw it, and he's just, oh my gosh, this is great.
Hi, my name is Peter Bartlett, Bartlett Labs.
Bartlett Labs, glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So what do you got going on over here? I see what looks like new hardware and old hardware in the same vicinity.
What we've got is a number of TRS-80 computers, Model 1, Model 3, Model 4, and this year even a color computer with add-on devices that give them capabilities like Ethernet.
Peter Bartlett's been designing and building hardware for the TRS-80 Model 1. His hardware emulates floppy drives. It emulates hard drives. He brings Ethernet and FTP to these old Tandy Radio Shack computers. And look at this. He has VGA out. That's nice.
Oh, so you're bringing this traditional hardware so it's easy to use in the kind of modern realm, huh?
Yeah, the whole idea was that if you have a TRS-80 on its own, it's kind of hard to use. You need floppy disks or even tapes if you're that primitive of a level. This device underneath here is a replacement for the original expansion interface.
This is his modern hardware replacement for the TRS-80 Model 1 expansion interface. It gets you a printer port, a serial port, floppy drive controllers, even additional memory. This is Mike Rowan, president of the Tandy Assembly. He got his start on a TRS-80 Model 1 as well, but here he is with his Tandy Color Computer 3. This one has 512K of RAM, and over here on the side, the SDC SD cards that emulate the hard drive. He can also be found on the CC Crew podcast.
Well, if you have a floppy drive connected, you can actually copy to the SD card. The SD card's just got a fat file system. You pop it into any computer, and you can move them there. Also, the big color computer archive that's online, you can grab the DSK files and move them right onto the SD card, and there you go.
Okay. What about copyright? Are some of these games abandoned, and how do we deal with that kind of?
Most of the vast majority of them, the copyrights have all been released, and there's no problem.
And the other ones we won't talk about.
That's right.
So what are these things? Can you tell me a little bit about this?
Sure. Here's some of the products we have. We have the what we call the Super Pack cartridge case. If you want to create your own ROM pack, because the games used to come on ROM packs for the color computer.
Right.
So we now have the ability to create your own ROM packs. This is actually a proto board. There are John Linville down there. We're producing new games using these packs, but we also sell just the raw packs. Well, there's a little bit here for everybody. We've got the entire Tandy Radio Shack line from 77 to up to 93. So
fantastic.
When they got out of it. So yeah.
Here is Mark Marlette from Cloud9 Tech and his custom hardware for the Radio Shack color computer.
We got the Super Spectro here running.
What's a Super Spectro?
It's a RGB to VGA monitor converter.
Oh.
And there's the banner screen, and we got her powering up. Oh wait, this is what we came from. This is a CM8.
Correct.
And this is today.
Yeah, I started to see some blue silk screen. I don't think that's retro, is it right? That's my key that there's something new going on here.
Yep, so that's one of the additions here is a PS2. So it's a hardware interface into the keyboard port, which allows you to use a
this is what is this? Is this a Coco 2?
This is a Coco 3.
Coco 3, okay.
Yep. Most of the stuff that we do here at Cloud9 is just Coco 3.
Was that your first computer?
Yeah, no, the first one was a Cosmic Elf.
Oh, really?
And I still have that.
Fantastic.
It was Super Elf, and that's how I learned all my hand assembly, all that stuff.
How do we find you online and on the internet?
www.cloud9tech.com.
Cloud9tech.com.
Cloud9tech.com.
This is Steve Strobridge. He's known as the original gamer Stevie Stro on YouTube, and he's also on the weekly Coco Talk podcast with some of his hardware and software.
So I grew up at a Radio Shack. I played with the computers since I was like 12 years old. When I finally got enough money, I ended up buying the color computer because it was close to like having an Atari video game system.
Right,
that had color
good combination.
So I was a kid wanting to play games, and then I taught myself how to program in BASIC, and I got into a career in IT.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time entertaining my 11-year-old self or my 8-year-old self. Depends on how adult I am at the moment. So what kind of hardware additions do you have going on here?
Okay, so this is a Color Computer 3. It's got some internal modifications. The CPU has been replaced from the Motorola 6809 to the Hitachi 6309, which is allows for better features for software written for it. Now, this particular game that we're showing here is made by Nick Marentis from Australia, and this is his game, Popstar Pilot. This was a brand new Coco 3 game that came out at the end of 2016.
What do you see as a kind of release schedule for new games for the Coco? Is this one a year, one a decade?
A couple per year.
Really? A couple per year?
A couple per year. Wherever John Linville is right now, okay, straight across here where it says Coco Crew Podcast, he's got a stack of cartridges.
Okay.
So brand new ROM pack cartridges are being produced.
All right.
So yeah, there is new content coming out, and I think a lot of this new content is inspiring more people to create more projects. So
does this support itself, or is it a labor of love?
It is a labor of love that is gaining momentum towards supporting itself.
If you made it this far, give it the big thumbs up, like it, share it with your friends, and don't forget to spend all of your money on coke and strippers.